Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is another Thursday, and here we are running with scissors. We're going to have some fun with paper and ink today and some waxes. We're going to be doing work with the Tim Holtz Foundry Waxes, which are so awesome. And if you've got them because you just loved what he did with them, but you're not quite sure what to do with them now, we're going to talk about that. So I'm so glad to see everybody out there. Welcome, welcome. If you are new to my channel, welcome, first of all. I would love to see you pop in to the comments and just leave us a hello and tell us where you're from. Everyone that joins me week over week is from around the world, and I'm so glad to see all of you when you are here. We have such a great time together. All right, so you guys are all chatting it up in the chat, and I always need to remember to change my chat from top chat to live chat, so that way I can see everything coming down in order. There we go. Excellent. Let's start off with some announcements. We've got some good ones this week. All right. Of course, as you know, this month we're doing wax mediums. Last week we did Prima Finnabair waxes. We'll be bringing them back next week, but this week we'll be working with the Tim Holtz Foundry Waxes. And then in August, we're going to be doing acrylic paints without gel press. So if you have acrylic paints because you have a gel press, now I'm going to show you some other things you can do with them without a gel press. So that way you can diversify using your products a little bit more. You don't always have to pull out the gel press to have fun with acrylic paints. All right, we're going to have a really fun time with that next month. The projects are really cool and dynamic looking. So I think you're really going to enjoy that. And of course, in September, we are going to have our next Stamp Focus Challenge, and the doors for that are going to open real soon. I'm working on putting some final touches on that, and the projects are amazing. The perks are amazing. You guys are going to have an amazing time, and I can't say it enough. It's going to be amazing. You're going to want to join in on the challenge, and I will be letting you know more about that soon. That will be in September, so doors are going to open soon on that as well. If you want to make sure that you hear about that first, you want to be on my mailing list. So grab my technique freebie, go to NicoleWalkCreates.com/technique freebie and sign up for the freebie, get the freebie, and get on my mailing list. So that way you will find out first when that comes up for registration. Of course, CRAFTY sales are ongoing. Scrapbook.com has their Christmas in July is going on. A couple other companies have some sales going on right now as well, but that's the big one right now. Of course, always, guys, when you're inspired by something that you see on this channel, whether it's a technique or one of the lives or just something that you've been inspired by that you've seen on my socials or wherever, please do tag me at Nicole Walk Creates. I'd love to see what you're creating, and I love to share a little comment or two with you to let you know how much I appreciate your share. Of course, affiliate links are down below. So if you do need to do any shopping for today, just click on that one single affiliate link. It'll take you to a whole shopping list for today. You click on the store that you want to do the shopping at, grab your stuff. That gives me a little bit of a commission. Always no additional cost to you, and that really helps to support this channel. It helps me to get new lights. It helps me to get new projects. It helps to offset for my time in creating all of this amazing stuff for you guys, free every week. All right, if you want to support me directly, because you don't need to do any crafty shopping, go ahead and click on the tip jar link. That'll take you over to PayPal, and you can send me a little tip as a thank you. And I always appreciate that. So thank you to Nancy and Aaron for sending me some generous tips last week. That was a lot of coffee, guys. Thank you so much, as always. And you can always subscribe to my channel. Click on the little bell to get notified when I go live here and when I have new content. All of these people have joined in the last week or so, and I'm so glad to have you guys on board. Thank you so much for thinking me worthy and clicking that subscribe button. Okay, big promo. This opened yesterday, the Card Maker Success Summit. It is the end of this month, July 28th through 31st. It is 4 days jam-packed with holiday projects from 26-ish different designers, plus some sponsor companies are going to be doing live streams. We're going to be live streaming as well. So not only are we going to be doing our recorded videos with our projects, we're also going to be live streaming over in the Facebook group. There's going to be prizes, giveaways. It is all free. You do not have to get the all access pass if you don't want it. You might want it because it's like craft overload after like just the first day. You're like, oh my God, I can't handle the crafter load. Yeah, you might want to get the all access pass, but you don't have to. Of course, it's free. So go to NicoleWattCreates.com/card summit, and that will take you over to the registration page so you can get signed up. Cece, you definitely need to sign up for sure. It just opened yesterday, so don't worry about it. You're plenty of time, but do it now while you're thinking about it. Like I said, it runs from July 28th through 31st. My presentation will be on July 29th on a Friday, so you definitely want to be around to check that out. I'm going to give you guys a little sneaky peeky. So here we go. This is a sneak peek of what I'm going to be creating. These are gel press prints. They're really awesome. We're actually going to be using this foil plate today. So there we go. Sneak peek. You have seen it now, and go over to the Card Maker Success Summit, if only to visit and see my presentation. It's the only place you're going to be able to see it. So definitely join the free summit. All right, guys, that's my plug on that for today. Let's talk about today's project. All right, here it is. Today's project. So awesome. Lots of metallic goodness. I just love this card. It's so cute. It doesn't take a lot of supplies, which is always nice. It just takes a little bit of time, right? So we're going to get started on this right away. Let me talk about a few things that we're going to do with this, and we'll get going. So glad to see everybody in the chat. If you are new here, like I said, please do pop into the chat and say hello. Tell us where you're from. We'd love to know. We also like to know what the weather's like in your neighborhood. So how's the weather today? It's hot here. Okay. So we're going to start with the background because we need to let it dry. I want to get it out of the way. So let me just talk about two things real quick. So let me flip down to my hands. Shall I? Hands. Hey, there we go. We're going to be using a brand new set from Spellbinders. This is a hot foil plate and die set called a Blooming Tree. Let me show you what that looks like. So it's the tree and a die to cut it out with. And then you've got a whole bunch of little floral bits. So these all match up with their respective dies as well. We're going to be focusing on the tree today. So there you go. And I'm actually probably going to run these through just to show you guys how they emboss and give you guys a good view into that. But we're not going to be using the hot foil machine today. Well, actually, I guess we are, because we're going to do these sentiments, the mini Christmas sentiment strips. There's tons of different sentiments on there. See, look at all of them in there. Whew, tons. I already have these done, so that way we didn't have to worry about time. All right. But that's the die set. And like I said, I'm also using this die set for the Success Summit. So, you know, if you're interested, it's out there. That one's been out for a while. I think that was out last Christmas. I have this hair that is, there it is. Do you hate that? Like when this hair is like across your face somewhere and you're like, what is going on? Oh. All right. But first, to watercolor. Okay, so I don't always do this. I don't always put my watercolor down on a board because I'm just lazy. But I want to make sure that this dries flat. And this is also an opportunity to make sure that you get like some nice little lines on here. So this is just a piece of 4 1/4 by 5.5 watercolor card. And I'm just going to tape it down because I want to make sure that it stays as flat as possible and that the watercolor dries nice and flat and I don't get any pools of color or anything. All right, so I'm just going to tape this down. All right, so this is just a piece of cardboard, so that way I can move it out of the way too. And this, I like this tape. It's, you know, I don't have this on the list. I should put this on there. This tape is an artist's tape, an architect's tape actually, and it's somewhat low tack, but it's a little more tackier than say mint tape. So it's kind of in between mint tape or you know, a post-it tape that we would use for our dies and stuff like that, and masking tape. It's not as sticky as masking tape, stickier than post-it tape. So I like it for this application because when I pull it up, I'm not going to pull out my paper. All right, so we're going to be using just one color. This is Altenews Emerald, and I meant to pull these out. Because if you don't know, Altenews has two emeralds. They have an emerald here in the Spring Garden set, and they have an emerald here in the Winter Wonderland set. And as you can see, I have the one from the Winter Wonderland set, and they are truly like different colors. So the one from the Winter Wonderland set is a little bit more blue in it. And the one from the Spring Garden set is a little bit more yellow green. All right, so we're going for kind of more of the wintry one because this really matches the paper that we're using today really well. So there are actually different. It's crazy. All right, watercolor. Super simple watercolor wash. So let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, and so the first thing I'm going to do is take my brush, and I don't necessarily want to go all the way up to the tape edge, but I'm going to make a rectangle with my brush. We can expand this out later. And this is going to create that water dam that's going to keep my watercolor from going everywhere. All right, so I've got water on here now. Can't see it, but you will in a second. All right, and I just put a little bit on here. If you don't like doing it this way because you are afraid you're going to get too much on there, you can always put it off to the side on a palette or something like that. And now we're just going to play with moving this around into the kind of shape that I want. So I just want a nice loose... Oh, excuse me. A nice... Wow, that never happens when I'm live. That's a new one. So I just want a nice loose rectangle. And I'm just going to kind of go around. This is quick. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. We don't want it to dry on here though, so that's why we need to keep moving. This particular green is quite staining, so it is gonna, if you let it sit for too long, it will kind of stain on your paper and not move as much as you might want it to. But we'll get it to move a little bit. All right, so you see this is like this nice casual kind of hand-drawn, well, it truly is like a hand-drawn rectangle. All right, and I just want this to sit in place here like so. All right, that's all there is to that, and it's going to dry. All right, so we just need to let this sit and dry for a while, and then we will come back and distress it in a little bit. All right, so let's set this aside. Okay, this is really why you came here today. Came here to talk about these guys, the Foundry Waxes. Okay. They're really, really cool, and they're really, really different. They are nothing like the Primo waxes that I used last week, and they're not a paste wax at all. They are metallic medium suspended in a liquid. All right, so when you pour these out, they're going to start evaporating immediately. If you haven't watched Tim Holtz's video on these, watch it. It's very, very interesting. He gives you lots of great tips. And of course, the first great tip is to shake them. All of them have an agitator ball in them. So you want to shake them and make sure that they are, that ball is floating freely in here. Okay, so this was the Mind. This is like the copper color. You see this one is a pretty thin suspension. Gilded is a little bit of a thicker suspension, so the agitator ball sounds a little bit different. All right, but you still want to get it all nice and shook up. All right, this next one is sterling. You hear, like, there's no ball in there. Oh yeah, there is. There's a ball in there, I promise. But this is really thick. The sterling is a really thick suspension. So you just need to make sure you're hearing that and you're getting that shook up really good. It's never going to sound like the other ones, all right? always going to sound a little different. And then statue sounds just like the rest of them. It's nice and thin. All right, so we're going to keep shaking these as we work with them. It's nice to get them all shook up to begin with, because sometimes, like if it's sat there for a while, it's just gonna, all of the solids are gonna compress to the bottom, right? And it's all just gonna be this little pile of goo at the bottom, and then the suspension liquid at the top, which is not what you want. So you really need to make sure they get shook up every time you use them. So I always start by shaking them and then work on my project. And then when I get to them, they're already ready to go, and I just need to shake them up a little bit more. All right. Okay, so let's talk about this project, because this is not foil, right? This is the Foundry Wax, and it's really cool. It's very rustic looking in this way because it gets like in all these little nooks and crannies. I was not very careful about how I painted it on. It's really amazing though, and I used all the waxes, so lots of different colors and kind of shifting, and some of it's thicker, some of it's thinner. Like I did not want it to be perfect. And I think using the Foundry Wax, it's not going to be perfect. All right. But what this is basically like a reverse. You've got that deboss from the dye, and then we're going to put the Foundry Wax over the top of it. So you do not need a hot foil system to use hot foil plates. Who knew? Let's talk about that. Okay, so hot foil plates they're pretty thick, but they've got these really great embossed bits on them. And as you know, or you might not know, but if you use this with hot foil, this is of course going to go through, and then the hot foil is going to press on the raised bits and stick onto your paper, right? But if you use it without foil, you can actually use it to deboss your paper. You can use this with words, and you can do all sorts of things. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to emboss all of these so you can kind of see how that works, and then we'll die cut them later. So we're going to pop these guys on here as well. All right. So what you might need is your instructions. I always pull out my Gemini instructions just to make sure that I have the sandwich right, because I'm always kind of forgetting things. All right, so let's see. We want to do I just want to make sure I've got the right one here. Yes, we want to do the embossing with dyes. All right. And actually, no. Is that the right one? I can't remember. Thin metal dyes, deep multimedia dyes, plastic shim. I'm looking. Oh, there it is, the plastic shim. I was like, I don't see the plastic shim, but there it is. Okay. So we're going to do this sandwich here. And I'm going to show you, I kind of build it backwards in the end because that plastic shim is kind of wonky. If you have a Gemini, you know it's kind of wonky. All right, so I need a clear plate. I need this. This is the key. This guy right here, this rubber mat. Let me back up just a little bit here. And then you need your material and your dyes and this plastic shim and a cutting plate. So this is what you need. All right, now when you get a Gemini, it comes with this rubber mat. You can get a replacement if you can't find it. All right, sometimes it's purple. It just depends on when you've got it and what color they were making it at the time. All right, but it's a nice thin, it's just a rubber material. And what this is going to do is keep any kind of dye from cutting. It just gives it that much give that it ends up embossing, right? So that's what we're going to use with our hot foil plates. Even though they don't cut, we don't want them to push through the paper. We want to give it a little bit of flexibility, right? So we want to use all of these guys together to do that. All right, so let me show you how this sandwich works. They say put down your plate, and then you're going to put down your plastic shim. Now this plastic shim, I don't care what you do with this, it's always going to warp. All right, so you see how like mine is all warpy, and then they want you to put everything on top of it. And I'm like, it's all just gonna fall off, right? So I build it backwards. I put my plate down. I put my rubber mat down. All right. And then I put my paper down. So this is backwards. Put my paper down, and then I'm going to put my plates down. Now, of course, I want the plates to press into the paper, so make sure that you're putting the design side down onto the paper. All right, I'm going to just pop these guys around here. You can tape them down if you want. Doesn't matter. I don't have to. Then I'm going to put down my plastic shim, and then I'm going to put down my my top acrylic plate. All right, so that is my sandwich. Let me just kind of spread that out so you can kind of see how that goes. All right, so acrylic, rubber mat, paper, dies face down, plastic shim, and then your top acrylic plate. Now, if you have a different system, read your instructions and follow the instructions for that, okay? One thing I am going to recommend is take your paper and spray it with a little bit of water. That's going to help keep it from cracking and really get a good impression around it, okay? You don't want to spray it like so much that it's completely soaked. You just want it to be a little bit mushy so that everything goes through just fine. All right. So there we go. Again, acrylic plate, rubber mat, paper, dies face down, plastic piece, plastic shim, and then your top acrylic plate. And then all you have to do is run this through your die cut machine. And you see how those guys just shifted around. So you might want to put a little bit of tape on these. Just to make sure they don't move. All right. Especially these little guys here, because I want to make sure I've got plenty of room around them for the die to cut them later. All right, so now let's put these through the machine and watch them happen. All right, so while I'm sitting here, questions. So Tracy, last week we did Prima Finnabair metallic waxes. We'll be bringing them back again next week. So check out last week's video and come back and join us again next week for more fun with those waxes. Let's see what other questions were there. All right, so Tracy also wants to know about bringing dried up supplies back to life. I'd have to know specifically what dried up supplies you're talking about to know if you can bring them back to life. So pop them in the chat, let me know, and then I'll let you know separately. All right, so let's pull these apart. Let's see what we got. This is so cool. Look at that. Look at how deep and awesome embossed that is. It is so cool. You could leave it just like this, right? You could just die cut this and put it on a card and call it good, right? Don't have to do anything more to it if you don't want. That's what I love about this project. You can stop at any time. All right, so because you know, sometimes you want to do a quicker card because you don't know if the recipient's going to like keep it or whatever, that kind of thing. All right, so we're going to come back and die cut these in a little bit, but first we're going to wax them. All right, so this is basically almost dry. You might need to zap it with your heat gun just a little bit. I've got a few little wet spots here, but I'm not concerned about it right now. All right, now we're going to wax. Okay, so Erin wants to know what size was my paintbrush. I used like this huge moppy paintbrush. This is a size, oh geez, the number doesn't even exist on it anymore. It's a number 7. It's pretty big. All right, so see, it's like the size of my pinky finger. It's a big moppy brush. I love it. This is from a set that I have, and these are on the supply list. These I got from Amazon, and I love these brushes. I think they're great. They hold just the right amount of water for me. They were not expensive. They've lasted me probably 18 months, almost 2 years so far. So they're really great. Super, super great brushes. Okay, for this, you want a junky brush. Okay, so we do not want to have a super clean brush for this, or, you know, super nice brush for this. You see that? That's leftover wax. I'm only ever going to use this for the wax because it's never going to, I mean, I guess I could wash it and maybe it would be clean, but look at it, it's kind of grungy already. So we're just going to use a junky brush. So, you know, raid the kids' craft stash, or look into your own old brushes, cheap brushes, right? All right, so I'm just going to shake these guys all up again. All right, so Tammy Rose wants to know if dried up acrylic paints are a lost cause. I think that was the question. Yes. You're not reconstituting a dried up acrylic paint for sure. Okay, so with this guy, we're going to start off with any color you want. We're going to work in small bits, and every time we pour some out, we put the lid back on. Okay, so this is mine, so this is copper. I'm going to put out just a little bit, like a dime size, and I put the lid back on, and I actually screw the lid back on too, so that way I don't like spill it, or it doesn't dry out. All right, so this is going to dry pretty quick. I just put it on the brush, and I'm just going to lightly start brushing over. Now, the lighter you brush, the less amount you're going to get in any of like the little spaces and stuff like that. But can you see this is like starting to get pretty thick already? So you have to kind of move fast. This is a no-brainer. This is not like a be an artist and color in every little teeny tiny space kind of thing. This is a get the stuff on the paper kind of thing. All right, so let's move to another color here. This is Statue. Now, I noticed earlier today, sometimes I don't know if I can get this to focus, but sometimes it likes to get stuck in that little teeny tiny hole. So be careful when you are pouring it out. See how it's like doesn't want to come out? That means that it's got like a little, some dried up stuff in the nozzle. You might want to take a little pin and stick it down there and degunk it before you squeeze too hard and you get it all over the place. All right, so we're just going to keep doing this same process over. And you see how, oops, I got it in the nooks and crannies. You're not getting it out of there. So reconcile yourself with that's the way it's going to look. It's okay. It's going to look amazing. So don't worry about it. All right. We can just keep going back and forth. We're going to do all sorts of different colors with this. So this is gilded, so the gold color. This has got a little, a plug, I would say. Yeah, this one's got a really big plug in it. I hadn't noticed that earlier today. Yep, see, I knew it was coming. That's what will happen if you don't clean it out with a little pin, but I'm not too concerned. We'll get this all on here. All right. And if you've got extra, like, of course, we've got these little bits here. I wanted to get some stuff on. This extra, I'm just going to kind of put it on the side here. This is not going to go to waste, okay? We can die cut this stuff out later. All right. That was a whole lot. This was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. Let me grab something else to put that on. All right. So if that happens to you, if you get a big splooge, right, grab yourself a piece of white and just kind of get the extra on there before it dries. All right, and we will heat this up later and you'll see what that looks like. All right, so let's get our last color on here. Don't forget, shake. This is the silver. So this is called Sterling. All right, and I think this one is kind of the one that makes a difference because it is so much different than the rest of them. This is going to add a little bit of silver on here. All right, let's get it on some of these guys too. Okay. This brush is nasty right now. Check that out. Gross. Give it just a little bit and it's going to just kind of evaporate. It's going to all dry and then you'll just be able to wipe it off and all of it will just kind of flake away. See how this all just turns into flake? That's what's going to happen. It's just going to flake away. All right, so then your brush will be back to being just some kind of funky brush that you can use. It won't have all this stuff in it. All right, here's the thing. The Foundry Wax has to be heated. You cannot leave it like this. It will just eventually completely dry on here and then peel off, and that's not what you want, right? So we're going to heat this up. Watch the magic happen. Whew. All right. Nothing like heat embossing on a hot day. Okay, so Cece says it's like embossing. Yeah, because you're heating up this material and it's turning it into this beautiful shimmery stuff. The thing is that it's not like embossing because it's giving you more of a, like in these areas here, it's like completely flat. It doesn't raise up unless there's like a whole bubble of it. All right, and even those like sometimes they kind of pull up a little bit, but usually it stays in place. Then you get these little organic bits, which is so cool. So this I'll save and I will actually be able to die cut from this, which will look really neat. But then here we go. This is our finished piece here. And you can see like it got into the little nooks and crannies. It's okay because it really went down into the nooks and crannies. And you can still see that beautiful shape from the heat or from the hot foil plate, right? And then all these little pieces too, right? Okay, so what are we going to do now? We're going to die cut these. Okay, so again, we've already got our die cut machine out, which is great. You just need to grab the right plates. Okay. And those... they're right in front of me. Silly me. All right, so we've got this guy, and it just fits like right on there. It gives it a little bit of an outline, which is super nice. So what you're going to see some of that green, right? And then you're going to see some of the metal because we overlapped a little bit. And then I've got all these little bits here as well. So the flower is about the only weird one. It does have a little bump here that helps me line him up. Otherwise, they're all easy to line up. So see that guy, the little bump lines him up. All right, and then a little leaf here. Now we're not actually going to use these little guys today. We're going to use them later in the month. So just remember them. They will come back. You could use them for this project, I suppose, but we're kind of going clean on everything here. Like I'm not adding a whole bunch of layers and things like that. All right, so I've got those guys on there and we can just go ahead and die. Okay, and then to clean up our space, you just need a wet rag. See how that just comes right up? It's dry, so it's just like a dry powder at this point. Any of the Foundry Wax left on your surface. So super easy to clean up. Not zoom in, zoom out. There we go. And then I'm just going to set this guy aside and I'll clean him up later. Okay. Oh, do you guys hear that? That's Dimitri. Says hello. All right. Let's take a look at our piece here and see how that looks. Okay, this is pretty dry. I know I haven't showed you guys the pieces yet. We'll come back to them in a minute. All right, so I want to get a little bit of distress on here. So we're going to do just some water and splatter with our big brush here. All right, we can even take our other brush to get some dark splatters on here as well. All right, so the more you splatter, the more you're going to get a little bit more of a distressed look on that. All right, so let's just let that soak in for a minute. It's going to pull up some of the green. It's going to soak in some of the other green. There we go. Let's see, look at those guys. That's good. Let's get some dark on there. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit and dry for a second while we finish looking at our embossing bits. Okay, you ready for this, guys? Oh my gosh, so good. Why did I zoom out? Should have zoomed in because this is going to be awesome. Check this out. I mean, like, get this as big as you can on your screen because it looks amazing. All right, here we go. Check that out. So cool, right? So awesome. So you could do a whole bunch of embossing on a single sheet and then just do a whole bunch of foundry waxing on it and then die cut them afterwards. I love it. So good. Look at all those different colors. You can see the copper, the gold, the silver, and then this right here is the statue. It's a little bit more like a bronze. It's very cool. All right. Yum. So this is a brand new set from Spellbinders. Just came out this week. And then there's these little guys here. This is this is like even better, right? These guys are awesome. Like I said, you will see them out later this month. Check those out. So good. All right, so like nice grungy metal bits. Awesome. The paper is just regular cardstock. This is called Rainforest. It's by Lawn Fawn, and I really love the shade of green. It almost matches my top today. All right, so those guys. Now I'm not even going to throw this away because seriously, I can use all of these little extra bits here for die cutting. So I'm like a hoarder when it comes to anything that shimmers and shines. So any kind of foil paper or any kind of glitter paper, I'm always like saving the littlest bits. I will save these guys and use them for die cutting. You'll probably see them again later in the month to do some really cool die cut stuff with. All right, so definitely don't throw this away. This is like gold right here. All right. Yes. All right. See how easy this is? I mean, this card looks like awesome, but it's super simple. Let's see. Nancy says she has a menorah die. She could try this with. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I would love, Spellbinders, are you listening? I would love a menorah hot foil plate. Please. I'm not even Jewish, and I would love a menorah hot foil plate. All right. Here is our mat. So we need to dry this up just a little bit. All right, so the nice thing about doing your watercolor on a board like this is usually it ends up flatter. That's kind of a nice thing, a nice reason to do that. All right, so then when I take off my tape, you always want to pull it away from your panel. So that way, if it does grab the paper, it just pulls it off the edge. It doesn't go into your project. All right, see how I'm pulling away from my project. But the heat tool actually kind of helps loosen it up a little bit. So that's always nice. Look at that, a nice little organic rectangle. So awesome. All right, and I've got a little bit of, it actually left some glue on the ends here. Let me get that off there before that becomes a problem. You never want that to be a problem. There we go. Okay. So we're going to pop this on a card base. If your cardstock is wonky, see how mine's still wonky anyway? Let me show you a quick trick for that. So double-sided adhesive sheet is definitely a great tool for this. I always cut it slightly smaller than my piece. So in this case, instead of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, it's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So just cut off 1/8 of an inch. So that way I've got a little bit of playroom here. And I just line it up. On the edge here. There we go. All right, so just line it up. And then pull and press, pull and press. All right. There's lots of companies that do the double-sided adhesive sheets. I love so many of them. It doesn't really matter which brand you use. They're all really great. All right. I've got paint on my hands from something. So then once you've got this on the back, again, we're just going to peel and pull off the top like so. Don't have to toss it, I promise. And we're just going to align it up in the corners here. So that it goes on perfectly. So once I've got that top on there like so. All right, so that's in place. Again, we're just gonna pull and press. And that gets you right on there. Usually flip it over, give it a nice little rub down. And there you go. Ta-da! Cool. So Nancy says that I need to talk to Spellbinders because they might take that under advisement to have a menorah hot foil plate. I think they should. All right, so there we go. And see, the nice thing about using the double-sided adhesive sheets is that, like, even though there's still a little bit of wonkiness here now, it's much more moldable. Like, you can kind of bend it and move it a little bit just to make it flat, right? So that really gets a lot of the wonkiness out of it quick. All right. This background is everything, isn't it, Cece? It's just gorgeous, just plain by itself. It got a little bit of like sunbursting kind of in here because the paint didn't come to the edge forever. It started to pull away and dry there. It just looks really awesome. Check that out. So good. So awesome. All right. So simply, guys, we're just going to pop this on here and we're done. Of course, if you needed to do sentiments, you can do your hot foil sentiments. You can do stamp sentiments. You can do any number of things, right? So you don't have to, You don't have to have a hot foil system to have this look. Perhaps you've got a hot foil plate in a grab bag and you don't know what to do with it. Now you know that you can emboss with it, right? No need to toss it or give it away. You can use it, which I think is really great because not a lot of people have hot foil systems yet. And maybe you don't know what to do with it. Maybe you've been thinking about a hot foil system, but you weren't sure if you would use it a lot because, you know, how versatile could it be? Oh, you know, I'm going to put this piece down here. Now you know you can emboss with them. You don't have to always hot foil with them. You can do just some really cool things with it. All right, so I always like to support my die cuts, so I've got lots of foam tape on the back. Actually, I probably should put just a little teeny tiny piece on the top there. Don't want anything to be wonky. There we go. And this, to me, it looks like a beautiful metallic ornament. So you could always punch a hole in the top of it and maybe put some thread through it. Heck, you could put them on the tree, right? You know what I would do if you wanted to make an actual ornament out of this is make a second one and sandwich them together, maybe with the foam in between, and then, you know, punch a hole and put some thread through it, whatever, hang it from your tree. That would be really, really gorgeous. So this is one of those weird cases where you can get away with putting an element right in the center that doesn't need to be grounded. I don't know why this works, but it does. It's like kind of like a playing card situation where it's just like, yep, this is right in the dead smack in the center. It's got this nice, really pretty border around it, and it doesn't need to have like a little shadow or anything. Like, it's just going to be perfect like this. So Tracy wants to know, will this melt in the post office? No, it will not. It's not waxy at all now. It is completely like embedded onto the paper. It's not going to really come up. You can reheat it, but it'd have to be hot heat, right? It's not going to melt at all. It's not like a soft wax. Okay. So I've got a couple of sentiments that I did from the set that I showed you earlier, and let's do Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. So this just needs a little bit of foam on the end. So I'm just going to pop this guy right here on the end. And then the rest is going to get regular adhesive glue, liquid adhesive. So undo that. And a little bit of glue on the rest. All right, and he's going to pop on wherever you want. But so cute that you can just kind of put this right across. It looks better when it does not go all the way across the element, I think. I like how it's kind of off to the side. All right, so nice and square on there. And it, of course, it's the same height as your foam tape, right? So it's just going to come right across and look super nice that way. Now you could take these little elements and, you know, do some little things like this, but like I said, we're going to save these for another project this month. And then we're just going to add some sequins to the deal here. These are the white satin sequins from Altenew. And I didn't get, so I need a large one. I love these sequins because they have 3 sizes and they're all the same color. All right, so let me zoom in real quick and show you sequence placement, because this one always gets people, right? So I'm always doing them in like groups of 3. So we're going to take like 1, and I like to pair the largest with the smallest. 2. So those guys together look really cute. And then you can just pull one kind of over here on its own. That's all you really need. You don't need to go crazy with the sequins. You can do more. On this one, actually, oddly, oh, I did 5 on this one. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can do that too. But on this one, let's just do the 3. And I like to use what I call a hard drying glue. It doesn't have a latex in it. So this is Spellbinder's Glazing Glue. I just have it in a different container. It's a hard drying resin adhesive. And I like it because, you know, there's a hole in the center of your sequins. And we don't want like anything sticky coming through it. And we don't really want these to move either. So if you use something like the Tombow glue, it has a latex component to it that keeps it from drying completely dry. It always has a bit of tackiness to it, which has its advantages, but in this case, it will allow your sequins to kind of move around a little bit. And if you use something more like the glazing glue, it's not going to. So I add a different, like I said, I put it in a different container because the hole for the glazing glue, the bottle it comes in, is rather large and I find it a little bit uncontrollable. So I put it in a smaller container and then I add one of these fine point lids to it, which you can buy separately. And this works out really well for this kind of glue. All right. And so there you go. So now, you know, you don't have to, you don't always have to go with the foil with your hot foil plates. So nice. Love it. Love these guys. I mean, look at how different they are. This one with the copper, more of a coppery finish. This one has more of a gold finish. They will all look completely different, but absolutely gorgeous. Both. And I've got more Christmas cards now to send out. I'm going to have so many Christmas cards between what I did for the summit and these. I will be done with Christmas cards for the year for sure. So there you go, guys. It's such a fun project. It is so interesting to me that these Foundry Waxes are so different than anything else on the market. So if you've tried paste waxes before, I encourage you to check out last week's video. Stop back in again next week for another video where we're going to be doing paste wax in a very cool finish. But this is totally different. So they're totally worth having if you don't, even if you have paste wax, because they react so differently and they have so many different uses. And we'll be using these again the last week of the month. So if you don't have them and you thought that this was interesting, you're definitely going to want to check out the last video of the month because these are really, they're showstoppers. I really do love working with them. It's something different that you cannot get through heat embossing. You can't get it through paste wax. It's a completely amazing medium that definitely has a permanent place in my craft space. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Let me double check on any questions, comments. Let's see. All sorts of good stuff going on in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and all of your crafty chat is always amazing. I love watching you guys chat away as we chat about crafty stuff and create amazing things every week. If you loved today's video, please do give it a thumbs up on your way out. Don't forget to click that share button. Share the video out with people out on your Facebook groups, anywhere that you share great crafty content. You can share while I'm live, you can share afterwards, share the replays, share the technique videos, just share. That's what crafting is all about, sharing and exploring and having a great time with such a fun art. So I'm so glad you guys joined me today. Don't forget to sign up for the summit. It's happening at the end of the month. I know you guys are going to love it. So I will be back here next week, hopefully a little cooler. But if not, that's all right. I will see you guys then. Until next time, happy crafting.